I definitely think this is up there as one of the most pointless videos I have ever made. Ever since this matchup won the Kickstarter rematch poll, I have been contemplating the best way to make this video. Because let's be honest with ourselves, you're not here because you're genuinely curious what good old Raptor's unique take on this matchup could be, you're here to see whether or not I'm stupid. To all the people who have religiously kept up with these characters and know this matchup really well, there is nothing I could say that you don't already know or have not already considered. To all the people just going off of what they've heard, yeah. It's basically as much of a massacre as it's been made out to be for so many years now. And yes, Death Battle has done one-sided episodes before, but I could literally go this whole video without saying who I am betting on, and no one watching would have any doubt in their mind who that is. The problem is, regardless of how excited I am for this episode, this right here is still a prediction video. Coming to a personal solid conclusion is the whole point of this, but in this case, it's a conclusion that I and everybody else have already been sitting on forever. I do talk about my hype in a lot of these videos as well, and I will say that I think the production potential for this episode is actually very, very good. Like, it could legitimately be awesome. But if it turns out to not be good, well, then I don't really think it has anything to save itself. The actual discussion surrounding this topic is kind of pointless, if not non-existent. And this has only been amplified by the fact that it's been the most talked about potential rematch in the history of this community, aside from, I guess, Goku versus Superman. But it's a discussion that is not only one-sided, but also completely finished by the time I got here. I could see a lot of people just skipping out on this prediction entirely, and honestly, I wouldn't really blame them. But despite me bitching like a bitch for the last couple minutes, I do not hate that this episode is happening. I would have been a lot more on board with it a few years ago, but still, I get it. And I'm quite excited for the episode itself. It's a huge legacy matchup in its own crazy way. The 3D animation potential is kind of nuts, and I will never deny those prospects. If that's the main reason why you wanted to see this episode, just to see what the new fight could look like, I think that is totally respectable. I hope you get exactly what you've always wanted, and I'm interested in seeing how that all turns out too. However, I have just as much sympathy for those who really did not want this episode at all, because any analysis or debate style reasons for wanting this episode to happen, I just really can't get behind, and I could see being frustrating to others. There's the obvious reason of, I want to see the results of the previous version of the episode get reversed, and I've kind of already talked about this before. I really do not believe that the main or sole point of a rematch should be to just reverse the outcome because it's so obvious. If it really is that obvious, you don't need a second Death Battle for Death Battle to tell you that. In my opinion, there needs to be something else that should be improved upon as well. To be fair though, that's not the reason why this rematch idea became so infamous, nor is it because the original version of the video was like the worst thing Death Battle has ever made, because it's not. It's because the debate itself has changed the most since the original episode came out in the early 2010s. It's the one that feels the most deserving of an update in a vacuum. So a lot of people are just gonna default to wanting that rematch the most, and that doesn't really surprise me. The reason why I don't completely see eye to eye on this though is I don't think a character changing or developing a lot since their last episode should automatically dictate rematch as opposed to just putting them in a completely new matchup. I could see a lot of Doomslayer fans wishing that his return was more meaningful to how strong he's gotten since the last episode, and how I'm sure there are a lot of Master Chief fans who would have preferred his return to be a little different as well, for obvious reasons. I think a character changing a lot since their last episode is a good reason to bring them back in general, but my first accompanying thought with that is almost never rematch. You don't need that to do that job. I didn't want Kratos to fight Spawn again despite him changing so much. I wouldn't want Venom to show up with his godly powers against Krona of all people. Do people just really like Master Chief versus Doomslayer as a matchup that much? At this point, I feel like that has to be it. I think rematches like Mario versus Sonic or Link versus Cloud worked a lot better in concept, because the point was to rectify Death Battle's own past mistakes, whereas simply updating a character does not require a rematch. Granted, I do think that a perfect rematch idea has a mixture of many things, like rectifying past mistakes, new information to cover, and the outcome not being totally obvious still, which is why I personally gravitated towards Mewtwo vs. Shadow for the rematch poll, aside from me just really liking the matchup idea in general. But who knows, maybe this combination of characters is actually how you wanted to see this update of information presented, but because of how one-sided everything is, and because we've deciphered all of it forever ago, that was just never how I was gonna see things. So you might think me saying all of this is kind of pointless since we're already getting this episode anyway, and none of this is necessarily going to stop the episode from being good. I'm well aware of that, but that also means that this is stuff I'm going to believe whether or not the episode is good. I hope it's good. I'm still excited for the production, and if it's good enough, then I may not mind these issues as much, but I'll still believe them to be valid. And if nothing else, you can use this as a way to determine how I would see potential future rematches. But yeah, this wasn't really a prediction aside from you guys getting to know who I think would win, but I really have nothing else new or nothing else of value to say. If you really want me to say it outright, Doomslayer is going to win. If Master Chief wins, then I'll make a video at the end of 2025 or beginning of 2026 ranking every single episode of Death Battle. Like if you enjoyed this video, comment your comments down below, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, and peace out.